Agenda AWANI with me, Naila Huda. The Global Youth Workers Conference is being hosted in Asia for the first time. And this year, the 5th edition of the conference focuses on the theme Youth Work in a Changing World, Sustaining Local Wisdom for Global Connectivity. On this episode, we'll explore what it truly means to balance local understanding, local wisdom with global engagement, how the Commonwealth's 5-year strategic plan positions youth at the centre of development and what new initiatives could potentially shape the next decade. Joining us at this hour is Layne Robinson, the Commonwealth's Head of Social Policy Development, here to attend the 5th Global Youth Workers Conference 2025 and also the 10th Youth Ministers Task Force meeting. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Very good. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me, and it's a wonderful opportunity to discuss these things with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here in the studio joining us, and I'm sure it's quite a busy part of the week for you here. The Global Youth Work Conference, as at the time of recording, is still ongoing. But it's very interesting, I think, to look at the theme, Youth Work in a Changing World, Sustaining Local Wisdom for Global Connectivity. Could you explain what this actually means in practice?
Well, it's a theme that I think is quite relevant for the time we're living in. Youth work is a distinct profession, and the people that work with young people, which range from those professionals or those volunteers, we are focusing on them in this conference. So most times conferences focus on young people and what they're doing, their ideas. We do that, but we also do the fact that we focus on the people working with young people. And that's a lot of people who support them. And so this conference is asking the question, as the world changes, politically, economically, socially, technologically, environmentally, how should these people react to those changes? So for example, this morning we're discussing in the conference the rise of AI. Is that going to change how youth workers mentor and support our young people? What about those that we have in our schools and other places? How will that affect them? And so in this conference, we're unpacking all of that. The world is changing very fast. And now we, as the youth workers who work with the young people, must also change and adapt to fit that. But then we have the sub-theme of looking at local wisdom and how that interacts globally, which is important. So the conference understands that there are interesting ideas and innovations that are happening in every country, in every village, in every community. How do we remember that, not lose that with all the changes, but then translate that and keep that affects the global community? And so we are learning lots of wonderful, interesting things about what's different in Malaysia, what's different in the Caribbean, and how that changes the rest of the world.
You mentioned a lot about these interesting ideas that come out. Maybe you can share with us some of these innovation, some of the more interesting ideas that's come out, trying to understand where the youth position themselves in this changing world.
Well, we were talking yesterday, I'll give some examples, in the Caribbean. So they have been practicing youth work there for a long time, but their approach now seems to be that they must begin to harness those ideas that are coming from, lots of the Caribbean they have descendants from Africa. So they're saying they have been practicing youth work based on Western ideas, and now those are not working. They're seeing increased social problems, young persons going into jail, young men going into violence and crime, and so they've gone back to go, what were their ancestors, what did their heritage teach them about men and how they should be treated? And so they've started practicing youth work based on African ideas and concepts, and it is making a difference. I'll give another example from in Africa itself. The idea of the community being the center of the country, the idea that everything comes from the village and the role of the village is an inspiring concept, Ubuntu, that we should be together. And so that concept has been lost as you go into, this technological world where everybody's on their mobile, but the community is disappearing. And then we had examples from the Pacific. In the Pacific, they have the village. The village sits together, they're elders, but they do and make decisions together. Again, in a changing world, you could lose those things. So youth work, this conference is saying, let's pull back and look at some of those models of how we organized community. And then let's not lose that as we go forward in technology, youth technology and other very fast-changing things. So Malaysia is actually a great example. There's so much mix and dynamism here, not just in the way you live, but the way you understand and are tolerant of others. Those are lost in a lot of our country context right now. In parts of the UK and other places, the intolerance is quite stark, and they're having problems socially. But you have a model here where everything seems to work well. Not perfect,
Yeah.
but it's working. So we need to learn what you're doing here and translate that in the rest of the world. So this conference is all about that mixing of these ideas and sharing so that together as a Commonwealth we grow.
That's interesting, but I think, to me at least, how I see that, there's a lot of local wisdom, a lot of local knowledge, indigenous knowledge that's being treasured and highlighted. But you know, the other sort of end of this theme that you're working on is global connectivity.
Correct.
And as you said, you know, this probably comes as a surprise to me and perhaps other Malaysian audiences that are watching this, that there is this sort of demand, that there's this interest to learn about how Malaysia is functioning as a society. So do you think that local wisdom then has this place in the world, that there is this demand and interest and intrigue for it?
We think so. And it's interesting that as a conference we use the word wisdom. Wisdom is not something that we talk about a lot. It's for me, you think wisdom belongs to the elderly or the seniors, the ones who have had. But actually, wisdom is now something that is the purview of many. Your experience, your learning can actually give you insights on what is happening. So yes, we have found in Malaysia lots of, you know, one of the articles that was written here was how gracious Malaysians are. The way that you have engaged in a very peaceful, humble, but a supportive way is unique. You go to other places in the world, it's a very difficult, it's a very difficult reception. But here it's so gracious. That's you know, what has caused that is what the wisdom is teaching us. And then if you take that from Malaysia and you go to another country, can you take that wisdom with you? Can you be more gracious in how, be more kind and respectful and appreciative? You know, simple things. In the conference here, at the end of every session, there's a gift, there's a token. I mean, you laugh. I know you're laughing because you think that doesn't happen everywhere else. No.
Okay.
That doesn't happen. Many places you go, you're lucky if you get a thank you. But here, they pause. There's somebody of great honor comes. Thank you. That's beautiful, and I think that I've seen that over the years coming to Malaysia, that beauty of spirit, that graciousness, and I think that for me is what we can take, you know, in a very cutthroat world. This will be something that we can take back, as simple as that.
It's nice to hear that it's being appreciated.
It's very much appreciated.
I do realize now that that's such a norm here.
It is.
We do love a gift ceremony. It's always it's a mandatory.
Trust me, it's a very beautiful tradition.
Yeah.
And I know you may feel, oh, we're tired of it. For us, it was beautiful. We welcome it, and we think many countries could learn and listen from a simple thing just as that. And that is what I think permeates all throughout how you do things here. We've found that in almost all our experiences.
I mean, yeah, it's good to hear that. And I mean, I guess this ties back to perhaps one of the reasons why Global Youth Work Conference, or the GWIC, is being held and hosted in Asia for the first time. You know, you get to experience you know, sort of new cultural norms like this. But you know, talk to us a little bit about why the Global Youth Work Conference is, you know, looking towards the east, and it's being hosted in Asia now.
No, thank you so much. So the last few conferences have been in different parts. So our first two conferences were in South Africa, and you can appreciate the South Africa with its fight for freedom was a good place to host the first two conferences. And then the conference was held in Malta, which is a small European state, a little bit in the Mediterranean, another different experience. And then we meant the last one, the fourth conference, was held in the UK, in Reading, just 2 years ago now. And it's very different. The technology, lots of cameras, lots of slightly different. So we're missing, you know, as we look in the Commonwealth, the diversity is what is our strength. So what were we missing? That spirit, that humility, that graciousness is what the youth work, I think, needs for the future. In a very fast-pacing world, you can forget to slow down and to be kind and to be humble. And I think coming here has given us that appreciation. And so the conversations have been a little bit tainted by that, which is exactly the point of moving it around. We want to add in this dimension into how we see practicing youth work. And so that's why we're here. But also, there are other practical reasons. Malaysia has been one of the strongest countries with youth development globally. I don't think people say that a lot. I know you talk about trade and so on. But Malaysia has one of the longest running national youth councils in the world. When you go to and you see 70-odd years of having youth be a part of the decision making is great. We're at the International Youth Center. There's only like 4 of them in the world. Malaysia has one of the longest, well-established ones. Beautiful place. Cultures coming, mixing, intermingling, learning, going back. Beautiful. So the practical reasons are that Malaysia is a gem for us in the youth sector, remains so over the many years, and we want to learn. And then Asia is one of the fastest populations with youth, a big population of youth here. Bangladesh, Pakistan, 70 million young people in Pakistan. So if you talk about youth development and where it's going to go, you have to talk to Asia. We talk to Africa about being young, it's the youngest continent, but in terms of the numbers, it's in Asia. And so whatever is working or not working here, you can learn and you can take that anywhere else in the world.
Does this perhaps align with any of Commonwealth's plan to perhaps potentially expand partnerships or look at youth engagement a lot more closely in this region?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, I've been coming to this region all this year. I mean, maybe it's, in thinking about it now, it's as if we have targeted this region as a region for growth. So earlier this year, we were in Pakistan, and what we did there was we launched for the first time the Commonwealth Alliance for Young Persons, so young people as young leaders sitting at a regional level. So, you know, I've talked about your National Youth Council, the fact that you have a national council that the young people, the young leaders sit in all parts of decision making. But you never had one regionally in this region. Other regions have had for decades. The Pan-Africans, the Caribbeans, the Pacific have had for this region has not had. So in January, and the years preceding, we worked with all our countries to create a regional platform of young people who could then engage with ASEAN, with SAARC at that level. So this region is and it's new. I wondered why it was new, because you've had the longest running youth council. So we are finding out that there are gaps in how we do things, and therefore, the opportunity to cooperate. And so what you have now is that regional group will now talk to as youth leaders, the Pan-African youth. They will be able to talk to the Caribbean youth. They'll be able to talk to the Pacific youth. So you have now this intersection there. That's one level of it. Then also we've done for the first time, this is a youth workers conference. So the youth workers associations that we're setting up, you know, the places where the professionals can talk, and you didn't have many in this region. Good that we are now here. They're already springing up. You know, Pakistan again had set up its first association of youth workers, the professionals who work with youth, so they can talk. And the idea there is that they will then talk to the other 32 associations around the world, and you have this now, this ongoing sharing, this mixing, this mingling of ideas and thoughts that goes beyond this conference. That's our goal.
How does this potentially tie into the Commonwealth strategic plan, the 5-year 2025 to 2030 plan? Because there is quite a lot of focus on youth development.
Absolutely.
Why now?
Well, the Commonwealth has been for the longest while, for probably the last 50 years, one of the only institutions that has had an intergovernmental, a body led by governments that focuses on youth. So most governments, most intergovernmentals don't have one. The Commonwealth has had one for 50 years in the Commonwealth Youth Program. And it was set up by our leaders. The heads set it up because they felt the beauty of the Commonwealth is its young people. 60% of the Commonwealth is young, so 1.2 billion young people. It's a young Commonwealth. So if you have a young Commonwealth and you have the longest running youth program, then it makes sense that it's going to be reflected in the strategic plan. In fact, if you're going to talk about health, education, trade, peace, security, democracy, the most of the population will be young people. So whatever you're going to talk about will touch on their life. So in the strategic plan, you have this weaving throughout it of this idea of youth being there. And I think our meetings here is want to say, but youth should be at the center of that discussion, because nothing, if you're going to move your countries forward, in even Malaysia, in Pakistan, in India, you have to engage the youth. So the plan does do that in its 3 pillars, focusing on trade, focusing on democracy, focusing on climate. It does say we must have youth empowerment running throughout. Now the mechanisms to do that are what we are working out now, but the idea that youth must be the center and a cross-cutting or a critical part of it is very important, and we support that. And this conference has been saying that, the young people have been saying that. You know, in this region you've had great examples of young people in leadership. You know, the co-chair of the conference, Senator Jufritri, has just been made a senator. That's big. It doesn't happen everywhere in the world. You should celebrate these kinds of things. I've seen so many young people here who have become the leaders. They're running industry, they're creating ideas. You're doing something different here with the young people. They are more advanced than any other. That is not happening everywhere. That's why we're here. We're learning from you. And that's why the plan is weaving youth throughout it.
It's interesting you pointed that out. Again, potentially some things that we take for granted and we don't realize that we should be grateful for. But I guess from a perspective of a Malaysian, when we're hearing these things, about youth support, or perhaps not just in Malaysia, in other countries as well, when we're talking about the support for the youth or any of these initiatives, we of course want to understand or make sense of it in dollar and cents, right? We want to see the ROI, the return on investment, which with initiatives like these, sometimes the ROI isn't as tangible.
Absolutely.
You can't see it potentially in the next year or the next quarters, financial quarters. The ROI is a lot more intangible than that, right? So where do you see this ties into youth entrepreneurship, perhaps innovation, and the larger economic integration and economic growth? Do you think that that's also important, or perhaps we need to expand our understanding of this ROI?
No. So we were discussing this in the conference, so I smiled. So one of the conversations we had was about the number of years we invest in our education of our young people. This is formal education now, not this conference. We're talking about non-formal education and youth work, which is out of school, the skills you get when you focus on teamwork, critical thinking, problem solving. And you see where I'm going. So you spend, 15 years in school, and you do math, English, arithmetic, and I'm going to challenge you to say, at the end of it, what do you have? And the problems are many now. You're hearing that people come out, they're not getting jobs. Some of them come out, they're still not able to. So you've spent 15 years of investing, many millions of dollars, or pounds, or whatever. You're not seeing that result, and that's 15 years. But in youth work, we get a young person for a year in a program, and people want to see a magic result. You must transform this whole person into a multi-billion investment. So in the conference, we are questioning, is that a realistic expectation of youth work? That we are in 1 year or 6 months or 6 weeks, when we are giving a young person for a program, must work magic. When in the education system you have had them for 18, 15 years, and you still, and they're not, it's not giving a result. So we are questioning the idea of the ROI in the conference. We questioned it to say, maybe it's not the right matrix to be using. Maybe we need to think about other things and think about different things. That what we are trying to do in youth work is not so much to change just for dollars and cents, but to change mindsets. Because if you can change how a person thinks, and it changes how they behave, how they approach to life. So rather than asking the question, we're training you, we're giving you lots of knowledge so that you can become a job seeker. No, we're saying, what is the creative, innovative thing that you have inside of you? What is the passion that drives you? That it changes the conversation. What are you passionate about? That's what we do in youth work. We unveil the inherent potential within a young person by asking and guiding and changing the mind. And so if you can emancipate that mindset from perhaps a job seeker to a job creator, to an innovator, to a creative, then the economy will respond accordingly. And now is the best time to do it. Why? Because you have now, I'll give you, knowledge is now not the issue anymore. We are not short of knowledge anymore. Yeah? So before, you went to school to get knowledge in your head. You need to put in all this history. Knowledge is not the problem anymore. You take up your phone, knowledge is at your fingertips. So where are you going to go now? What is the relevance of spending millions to create knowledge? No. The idea now is to train the person to react, to think, to be critical. That's the non-formal. So we have a very clear plan for the non-formal learning as a way to transform economies, which is meaningful. You ask any big business out there, millions of people have masters and degrees, so that's not the difference anymore. The difference when an employer is going to seek an employee, even in the traditional sense, is not the degree and diploma. Everybody has one, or more than one. Sometimes, when I get CVs now, I'm blown away. Some of the young people that are coming, when I look for a job, 5, 3, oh my gosh, PhDs. That's not the problem anymore. The problem is, do I have somebody who can think? Do I have somebody who can reason? Who can solve problems, who can be a team player? You get all those skills in the youth work sector. You get all those skills by non-formal learning. You play sports. You learn to be a leader. You have not done a mathematical equation. But that's the kind of person we want. Then talk about the future and jobs and what kind of person do you want for the future? You want those people with those skill sets. And every job person is going to tell you that. The person I want in my employer is the person who can think, create, solve problems. That you get it in youth work. So it actually has a direct link to the economy in big ways. But the strangest thing, it's not known, and it's a secret. It's like a secret, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you spend 18 years in school and all the attention is on that block. And almost, I can bet you, and even in Malaysia, what is being spent on the other block? It's not there.
I'm going to get a refund on my master's now.
I think you can, you probably, I think the smart ones, like I think you are a smart one. What you'd have done the masters, but I know you would have done other things, right?
Hopefully.
You'd have done other, engage in other things that, that then make that masters 10 times better. That's the plan. It's not to take away, it's a package. So you've done a master's, yes, we're not saying not to do it, but you need to enhance that master's with the non-formal.
Sure.
If you can show that you're an excellent musician or a sport person or you're doing this, what you're doing now is thinking critically. That's
hopefully. Now, I do want to ask you, we're talking about how, you know, we can harness the youth better to better prepare themselves for the economy. But there's also, you know, the other side of the coin. How can the economy then prepare for this influx of, you know, talent and youth? Because that's not the problem, right? There is that sort of supply there. So going back to the Commonwealth, you know, 5-year strategic plan, you know, this sort of shift or, you know, slight move towards, you know, looking to the east, looking at Asia. Is this sort of a central component or being considered in the strategic plan to potentially strengthen Commonwealth trade partnerships in this part of the world?
Of course. I mean, so the Commonwealth is all about creating opportunities. It's in the name, Commonwealth. You get it? It's like it's a brand. Like people want to know what is the wealth that this Commonwealth has. I get that question all the time being a staff for the Commonwealth. What is the wealth that you have? It's not money wealth. It's not necessarily money wealth. So you're not going to see the Commonwealth having, you know, donating millions of dollars. No. It is not wealth in terms of military wealth. No. We don't have weapons of destruction and can command that respect. No. What we have is opportunities. What the wealth that the Commonwealth really has is this idea that we have great potential in our countries. You know, lots of our countries are in the global south, they would say. But it's in the global south that you have imagination and innovation and creativity. And so in our plan, in the plan that we have, it's about where are the opportunities in the Commonwealth. And when you look to Asia, with the numbers of youth you have, with the number of excellent ways that you have organized yourselves here, with the spirit you have, opportunities are being created all over the place. And what you want to do is to take the opportunity from this region, and you want to share that there. You want to share the one that's trade. You want to exchange, and that's the beauty of the Commonwealth, the idea that the opportunities that are in one part of the Commonwealth are not exclusive to that part, because we're a family of nations, and that's the beauty of the trade idea, that you can exchange these ideas and you can cooperate together for the benefit. And so the idea is the common, so the wealth I've talked about, but that commonality is now the sharing of that, that I can come here and get to know you and buy into the fact that the food and your culture is so great. I take that back with me. And I want to bring some of your products with me. And I can scale that up into bigger trade as well. And then by doing that, the whole Commonwealth grows and continues to grow with trade.
Going back to the question of youth, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges for Commonwealth countries to realize this trade-led growth while still ensuring that this benefits and tries to put youth development at the heart of it, and also looking at, you know, marginalized communities?
So it's a brilliant question, because I think if you can solve this question, you've solved the problem, isn't it? Because the premise here is that with a large youth population, you know, 60%, 70% in some contexts, then if you solve that problem, you've solved a lot of your other problems. So this is where we're having a problem now, because a lot of our countries still have youth in a way that is not going to solve the problems that your question that you're asking. So if youth remains a silo, meaning you only deal with them as a, you know, in the schools, you're missing it. Youth must be part and parcel of everything you do. You should have youth in trade, youth in defense, youth in security. You have to have that lens that allows you to see the country, the institutions, the sectors from a youth perspective. That's not happening. So one of the things that we are trying to do in the Commonwealth is to change that. If you can do that, if you can just put you know, when I take off my glasses, I can't see. If you put on that youth lens and you look at, okay, let's look at something. You're looking at your health system, okay? Is the health system youth responsive, youth friendly? I've worked in many countries where the health system is not youth friendly. So young persons go there they don't feel trusted, they don't feel like they can share that they're having a problem, they don't feel like they can bring their issue there, they feel it's not for them. Let's look at another thing. Is your education system, you should be, is it youth friendly? You talk to students, they hate schools. How do they hate schools? It's not friendly. It hasn't, and I give you the example of how to make your schools friendly. You need to have students in the leadership. You need to listen to the voice of the students. So little things, I can take any sector. You know, you look at your trade here, okay, let's look at some. Is the trade policies youth friendly? If you take up the trade, simple, run it through and see how many times have you seen the word youth embedded there or ideas related. No. In some parts of the world, what they've done is, in terms of their trade and procurement policies, they've said, listen, we must leave at least 30% of the things for the young people, of the trade. Right. They've made both. It's not enough. It's a step in the right direction. So you ask the question, what are the challenges we have? It's the fact that youth still remains a kind of a siloed concept and idea, when actually it needs to be a mainstreamed idea. It needs to cut across all sectors and systems. Even, I'll give you a little example. Even with the media, you're in the media. Is the media youth friendly or not? You can tell, because if you watch the news over a period of time, or you watch television, and you see over 2 hours or 3 hours, how many times has it shown youth as a problem and not as a solution? It's framing. So a lot of people, they see young people only as a problem. And so when you, in media, that's a big problem. And I'm saying it, hint, 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 hint. Youth are not the problem. The vast majority of young people are doing very well. And highlighting and showcasing what they do will make a difference. So the simple answer to your question is, there's a problem here that needs addressing, and it is the idea of mainstreaming youth, or seeing the world through a youth perspective, given that the vast majority of your populations are young. You see? I'll give you a simple example. I know I'm going on about this. Okay? What is one of the biggest things that our young people are doing right now is esports. Yeah? You do some sports, and I'm going to bet you, what do you play? Candy Crush? What do you do? What do you do?
All sorts of things.
You play all these games. We're all into it.
I'm into it,
But most young people are also there, and they're doing esports as well. But I'm going to bet you most adults, are not talking about esports. They have no clue what it is. It's a lost concept on them. So you have this dissection between one part of the population, the parents, the older ones, myself, and a young population who is into something that we don't even know what it is. That's an example of it. So if you put on a youth lens, you begin to see the world not from our perspective, which it's easy to do, but from the young person's perspective. It will solve the problems.
Very interesting. Plenty more, of course. I'd like to pick your brain on very, very interesting ideas there. But that is all the time that we have. Thank you so much, Layne, for joining us.
It has been my pleasure to share with you. And please, on behalf of the Commonwealth and the Global Youth Work Conference, let me thank you and the audience for hosting us here and receiving us so graciously and demonstrating that kind of a spirit that we can take everywhere across the world. Thank you very much.
Very, very happy to have you. Unfortunately, no gift ceremony at the end of this show, but perhaps for next time.
Thank you
that
so
is
much.
all on Agenda Awani with me, Nala Huda, this hour. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.